you know what? I had the best college experience because I became a Hall of Famer, a Scholar Athlete of the Year, a gold medalist winner in SEC grade, and on top of that, I find my husband got drafted to the WNBA, a first-round pick. Kobe, can you tell me, like, where do you get that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct? He invited me to a practice, his 5 a.m. practice. He just changed my whole mindset.
Welcome to episode number 21 of the Uncommon Success Podcast, our final episode of the season.
Yes, welcome and hello to our community. Thank you for joining us on the Uncommon Success Podcast. On this show, we have a passion for hearing the success stories of leaders, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. My name is Andy Coates, and I'm here with my fun host who's made it for the majority of the podcast.
Almost all. I'm just taking credit for all.
I think it's barely a majority. I'm not sure. I'm going to go back and tally up your podcast here that you've been on.
Taking credit for all.
But I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Brinly Foxall.
I'm so excited to be here. It's going to be a really fun day today.
Yeah, today's a little bit bittersweet. The sad news is that it's the final episode of the season for us. But the good news is that we've made it to 21 episodes.
Absolutely. And last one, best one.
Yep.
This is going to be the best one.
This is it. Yep. Excited about this one. In fact, we got a very special guest for our season finale today. So I want to introduce our wonderful guest. Miss Marie Ferdinand-Harris is in the studio with us. Glad to have you, Marie.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Before we jump into the podcast, we've got a ton of questions for you, and we want to hear your story. But something we started a few weeks ago, just to kick off the podcast show, we do what I call a double positive. So 2 positive things that have happened in your life this week or in your family's life this week that we can share with the audience, just thinking about the positive. So let's do a double positive for the week. So we're all three of us will chip in here, so whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
I know for me, we were able to bring to life the BeLikeCJ Kid Fest on yesterday, actually. And it was a huge success, a lot of planning, but to see it come into fruition was amazing. And the second positive is the release of my beloved son, CJ. His book was published, I believe, Friday or Saturday. So those are my 2 positives.
Awesome. Look, we're gonna jump in and find more about the BeLikeCJ here in a minute, but that's good. So the festival went great, and the book launch has kicked off. So that's great. All right.
We had a weekend getaway with the family, saw some old friends, went to Main Street Fest in Grapevine, which is always a good time. So that was really fun. And then my other positive today at church was Promotion Sunday, or Move Up Sunday. So that's where all like the kids move up, and my son is moving into students, which is scary, but
yeah, because you oversee the student ministry, and now he's in there.
Now he's in there.
What was your relief zone is now mama and minister at the same time.
So it'll be a balancing act.
Well, that's cool, though. It means you're getting old now, right?
No.
That you have a son who's jumping into student ministry.
It's crazy. I had him when I was 10 years old. So.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, a couple of fun things that happened for me this week. One, very positive. We had, I've put together, I'm working on a children's novel right now, and I put together my second round of a beta reading team, and they're going to read through the whole book with me. And so I had 9 people who have signed up to be part of that beta reading team, which is pretty awesome. I was expecting, I put 4 to 5 was my hope, and got 9 out of it, and already getting feedback from them. So that's been
so awesome.
Very positive. And I've been able to make quite a bit of progress with that. So so my second positive is still in that same world, but I've been wrestling with my introduction for that book, and I was able to finish that up and sent that off to the beta reading team, and I've got a lot of great feedback.
Have you wrote me into the story yet? That might be what was missing in that introductory.
Yeah, well, the villain comes later in the book, so you are in there. Okay. So it's instead of Brinly though, it's Brinny. There's no L. I took the L out just so to protect your identity.
Protect my identity.
Yeah, but I do have a picture of you that says, just in case there's any confusion, this is her. But we always just want to share a couple positive things that are happening. We know the world can be very crazy in the journey towards success, and it's easy for us to focus on the negative things, but those negative things really are just opportunities for us to grow. So we want to keep our mind on the positive as we are pressing forward. And so we encourage you, if you're listening, to think about the positive impacts that are happening along the journey, because it does get wild and crazy out there. If you're doing anything that matters, usually there's some resistance and there's some difficulty and some struggle. And as a leader, we encourage you to welcome those things, but it's easy to fixate on them, the negative. So we encourage you to think about those positive impacts, and we believe it'll go a long way.
Well, Marie, now we want to focus in on you. So tell us about who you are, your family, your life's mission. Just give us the scoop on Marie.
Well, Marie, I am born and raised in Miami, Florida, parents of Haitian descent. We were raised in this little small community in Miami, which was known as Little Haiti, because most of the Haitians, when they come from Haiti, they settled in a little community called Little Haiti. And that community was not the best place to raise a family. It was, horrible crimes, drugs, poor school districts. But, I got my first introduction to work ethic watching my mom raise 8 kids on her own. And doing it with a smile on her face. Everything I've done in life, it's been for my mom because she has taught us so much. So grew up in Miami, Florida. Then, although a dark place, I found a way to focus on the light. And I'm looking for opportunities opposed to, reasons to fail and give up in a daunting town. I stumbled on basketball, just hearing this amazing announcement. Anyone interested in girls basketball, come try out. And I go and try out and literally change the trajectory of my life. I end up, going to that same high school that's not supposed to be really anything good come from that high school. We end up winning the first girls championship there, changed the whole landscape of the school because it became a positive vibe out of Miami Edison Senior High. And from there, end up getting a scholarship to LSU. Played 4 years for the late, great Sue Gunner, and I felt like, I had the best college experience because I became a Hall of Famer, a Scholar Athlete of the Year, a gold medalist winner, an SEC great, and on top of that, I find my husband. Felt like I got the ultimate package deal. So from there, went on and got drafted to the WNBA, a first-round pick, 8th overall to the Utah Stars, who relocated, became the San Antonio Stars, played 6-7 years there, then went and played 3 years in Los Angeles for the Sparks, and wrapped up my career playing with the Phoenix Mercury back in 2014. So played 12 long years, learned a lot. It was a great journey, but I wish it was in this era because it is a total different ball game for the women's game.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, met your husband, and did you guys get married or anything during that process of school and pro? Like, where'd that happen for you guys?
So, to be honest with you, we were just good friends in college.
Okay.
He was what they call big man on campus because he played for the legendary Skip Bertman at LSU and won 3 championships, and they were just really rolling with those World Series tours that they were making to Omaha every year. But we were good friends. We didn't date. We just were really athletes, just supporting athletes, having fun, whatever. But yeah, we were just friends at LSU.
Okay. When did y'all get married?
It wasn't until 2006,
Okay.
my first year getting drafted to the Utah Stars. Actually, the summer after Utah Stars, during that time, there was this league that most of the WNBA players play in this league to kind of prepare for the upcoming season. And they have different teams, different states that they put these teams in. And I was playing for a team in Tennessee, and I remembered Cedric was from Arkansas. And I'm like, oh, I should reach out. I'm not too far. Maybe he can come support. And we began to, reconnect. And he started writing these love letters. And I'm like, oh, the love letters won me over.
Oh, got her.
Yes. So in 2006, I was drafted in 2001. 2006, we got married, and we had CJ, who just an amazing young kid. You'll learn more about CJ later. So that's kind of how it all happened.
Okay. Awesome. Love it. And I'm blown away just by, I've known you for a couple of years now. We've had a lot of discussions about leadership and about growth and all those kind of things. And I'm blown away by your story. And I just want to highlight, she mentioned some stuff there, but I just want to highlight to our audience some incredible things about Marie. One, a basketball superstar, and a remarkable 12-year career in the WNBA. You could probably still go out there and dominate right now,
yes,
right?
Definitely.
And
it's like riding a bike. You don't
right.
forget.
She's an author of a popular book, Transformed: The Winning Side of Losing. making history as the first Haitian American woman to excel in professional basketball. The 1995 Florida High School Player of the Year. She was inducted into the LSU Hall of Fame, won a gold medal, 3-time WNBA All-Star, and now she travels around speaking in workshop seminars. She's in and out of schools, just sharing her inspiration to young people, which is just pretty impressive. So, of course, we've got a ton of questions that we want to ask you about your story. So we want to jump into your story a little bit here. So, just Brinly, kick us off a little bit. Let's talk about the topic for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such an impressive story. I'm excited to just hear more about it. Like I told you earlier, I made it to basketball in the 8th grade, so I'm sure you can still dominate. Just stop growing and that was it. But today we're going to be talking about life beyond pro sports.
Yeah, and this is great to have you on this podcast. Our stories are so similar. You know, me being a 12-year WNBA star myself, and all those. No, I'm just kidding. So we're blessed to have you here just to talk about this. That it's such a unique thing to see athletes who struggle beyond the game, whether that's from if they were sold out in high school to college to football. That's their life, and then to go beyond that is a struggle. And so, you even in your book in Transformed, we'll talk about that in a little bit too. You kind of open this up. And so we want to just hear this from you a little bit. So Brinly, we have some questions. Why don't you kick us off with our first question so we can just get into Marie's story a little bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to hear about this one. Can you go ahead and walk us through your athletic journey as a basketball player?
My athletic journey was, I like to look at it as bittersweet, to be honest. Playing 12 years in the WNBA, playing 12 years, pretty much my whole career, it was very difficult to understand that I'm capable of doing both, meaning to be a fierce competitor, but at the same time be all about relationship building. I struggled learning how to do both. So I chose to be a fierce, dominating basketball player. But that cost me, because when I retired from playing 12 years in the WNBA, I realized that I developed as a player, but I was neglected as a person. A lot of skill set that I just didn't have. I felt like I had graduated, I had gotten my doctorate when it comes to sports, but in life, with skill set, I was entering junior high because playing, I would never really even talk. I wasn't as confident off the court as I was on the court. And when you're playing sports, to be honest with you, a lot of coaches, they're not interested in the person. It's more about the player. It's, how can you help them win ball games? How can you help them get that extended contract? That's their primary focus. So you're left alone. No one mess with you. You don't get stretched. And I was okay with that because I was trying to compete for championships, and nor did I want to be stretched because I just was chasing championships. So when I retired, it was a humbling experience to realize here's a woman who played on these amazing platform, this big platform, and to not have a plan and to not know where to go next. It was a humbling experience, but I literally humbled myself and I started to figure it out. I started taking public speaking classes, doing self-confidence, hired a self-confidence coach, literally joined every chamber of commerce, Rotary Club, just wanted to meet people, talk to people, all the things I wasn't doing when I was playing because I never knew how to do both. I can remember even at LSU, there was one time I would come early to get some shots up, and Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, and Kirby Smart, they will all come with their whole entire staff. I guess it was their cardio power hour. And I can hear them on the floor one afternoon, and I'm like, what are these old guys doing on the floor? I'm trying to get my shots up. Can they get off?
Yeah.
Never having the awareness to go and introduce myself to a Nick Saban, to a Jimbo Fisher, Kirby Smart, just having those friendships, that I can hold on to, rely on for life after sports. I didn't have that awareness. All I cared about was getting my shots up and getting those guys off the court because they were getting in the way because my practice was going to start afterwards. So opportunities like those are what came to my mind when I retired. Like, wow, my Nick Saban moment, which I share in the book. My walk-ons moment. I played with some guys, Brandon Landry, who was a walk-on at LSU at the time I was there. And literally whenever I wouldn't do an appearance, or Stromile Swift at the time wouldn't do an appearance, Brandon Landry would say, I'll do it. And he'll go meet the president of the hospitals. He'll go and do all the children initiative and bring his business card. And when I retired, without me having a plan, I watched Brandon Landry literally put out his 20th walk-ons restaurant chain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think like he thought. And my last story was Becky Hammond, played with her in San Antonio. And I remember after practice one day, she asked me, hey, Marie, what are you doing after practice? And I said, hey, we have a game tomorrow. What do you think? I'm going to go home, ice my knee, read my scouting report, and get some rest. We have a big game. And I said, what are you going to do? And she said, well, I'm going to go have dinner with Greg Popovich, who is still the head coach with the Spurs, Tony Parker, at the time their point guard, their franchise player. And she said she was also going to catch a practice before. She's like, you want to come with me, Marie? And I looked at her like, Becky, why in the world would I do that? We have a game tomorrow. So when I retired, I watched Becky Hammond take an assistant coach position with the NBA, becoming the first female athlete to serve as an assistant coach. And that made me realize, like, oh my gosh, I was just preparing for that game, but Becky was preparing for life, like the game after the game, to be honest. So those things just kept crossing my mind when I retired without having a plan, like I had not maximized my platform. And I didn't know how to do that. Growing up in a Haitian household, when you're quiet in my culture, you're looked at as well-behaved, great kid, so no one never messed with you. So I never got the confidence as a little girl to understand the importance of making friends and just, communicating, talking in front of people, asking questions. I didn't do those things. I literally was a mute. It's amazing because now you can't get me to be quiet. But it's been truly a transformation with just everything I've learned from sports to post-athletic career to just life. But I've been very grateful to just, humble myself and be where I am today.
And it seems like all that in your own journey, realizing that realization of, man, I feel like I missed something, because you were a fierce competitor on the court, and then life, that part of your journey comes to a halt.
Yeah.
And you have to now shift into a new world. And knowing how that felt for you, how did you, I guess, even make that transformation yourself? Because now it's a passion of yours to help others in that same journey. So talk to us. What did that look like for you? The competitor on court to now being competing in life and helping others compete. What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, what's interesting is Las Vegas Aces, who is now, that used to be the San Antonio team that I played. They relocated, now they're the Aces. And every year they host an alumni weekend, and I go every year. And it's crazy because I can see the team presidents, the GMs, I can see the different faces, who serve in those roles, and they're looking at me and they're seeing this vibrant woman, and but they also know me as a player because I played with the GM. And they're just looking at me like, wow, if she ever figure out what she figured out in sports in the real world, she's coming after my job. You know what I mean? They all give me that look of, it's only a matter of time for her to put forth that exact same determination, that grit to figure out the business world of everything.
Yeah, that's good.
It's so good. Well, I'm curious, very people get to compete at the level you competed. How did that help set you up for success in life?
Well, I mean, the skills that you learn automatically, the perseverance and resilience and having to trust the process, battling injuries and learning that, hey, trust that process, obstacles, all these things are just instilled in you through sports, and it carries over. They're transferable. So those are the things I relied on when I realized that, oh my gosh, I didn't maximize my platform. I started to just exercise some of those skill set that was in me already. I just had to say yes. I just had to humble myself and put forth the work ethic to start opening up some more doors for me.
Yeah, they say a lot that, that for athletes, that sports really help them to understand how to manage life, that it does something in the failure and the victory and learning how to manage all that, and especially on the failure side, learning how to deal with failure and problems and hardship. And I want to shift here a little bit.
But before you say that, because that was a good thing you just mentioned, Andy, and I want to say something before you shift. Yeah. Because you talk about the failures and the victories. My whole entire career, I've been like this pretty much until the latter part of my career. I've been the franchise player. Since I started at the age of 13, always the franchise player. But going to LA, I find myself on the bench for the first time of my life.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know how to accept that because I was always in the game. I was always playing. I was a starter.
You're the middle school star.
Yes,
the Florida star, the
Yes.
1995
And-
superstar, and then college we're a star. And now,
Yes. And now I find myself on the bench. And it was a very hard transition for me because I didn't know how to make a production while on the bench.
Right.
I was always in the game. And I struggled that first year in LA just trying to, keep a good body language and understanding how to just maximize the little you're given.
Yeah.
It wasn't until one practice I'm leaving and this encounter with Kobe Bryant helped change my whole mindset. I see Kobe because they would practice after us in Los Angeles, and he's coming right towards me, and I'm like, oh, wow, Kobe. So I say, hey, Kobe, and he's like, hey, Marie, how are you? No, he didn't say my name. But he was just like, hey, how are you doing? And I said, Kobe, can you tell me, like, where do you get that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct, that professionalism that you display every night, the professionalism, where do you get that? And he said, okay, you want to see? And I said, yes. And he invited me to a practice, his 5 a.m. practice. So next day, I true enough go to his practice, and he's there, and you would think it's the game-winning shot he's taken because every moment, every second is efficient. It's game-like. It's something I've never seen. His professionalism. He'd go get a water, and he'd bring his ball boy a water. To me, I was just seeing, like he was just displaying. He was trying to show me that he was preparing to be trustworthy because he knew that ball was coming to him, and he wanted to make sure he had put in the time to perfect those shots, those difficult turnaround jumpers that we see, and we're like, how did he do that? He told me, like, no, during the game, now I'm just having fun because I've done put in the work. So after that encounter with him, he just changed my whole mindset. I was excited to go to practice. I was excited to find a way to make a production off the bench. I started to understand the value of 1 minute in the game, and I prepared for that 1 minute in the game. Every practice I'm battling because when Michael Cooper's our coach at the time, once he called my name, I'm going to utilize my 1 minute. And I made the most of that 1 minute, which became 5 minutes, 10 minutes. My playing time grew. Then my body language became better. I started to learn how to cheer for others when they're having success, something I never had to learn because I was always in the game.
Right.
I started to learn how to hand someone else water. Just learning professionalism and knowing how to just make sure you're the first one there and the last to leave. Regardless if you're in the starting lineup or not, just be trustworthy, like Kobe had mentioned. So it changed my whole mindset. It helped me to become the ultimate teammate where, it's not what you're doing, whether you're in the game or not, you're valuable and your team needs you. So it was a really great lesson that I learned with meeting Kobe and a tough time going from being in the game to being on the bench and learning that you can still make a production even while on the bench.
That's good. I read in your book that part where you shared that in the book about Kobe and mentioned that he practiced at game speed.
Yes.
Like he was out at full throttle to
Full
practice,
throttle.
and a lot of guys don't do that. A lot of athletes they practice at half speed and then expect it, but it wasn't him. So I do want to transition here because so as you kind of got into the beyond the game side for you. You learned a lot of lessons along the way in life, and that how to manage when life hits you hard. But you and your husband, Cedric, faced a difficult tragedy that took place that completely changed everything for you guys. Your mission, your purpose, everything in life. Walk us through your story. Tell us what happened there.
Well, my whole entire life, I felt like even though I was always in a losing position, I felt like I won. With just escaping my environment in Little Haiti in Miami. You're destined to fail. You're not supposed to go to a prestigious university like LSU. But I felt like I won because I got to LSU. And getting to LSU, they would say, oh, she will never make it. She'll drop out. She'll leave home. She's not that tough mentally. But I won and got my degree and got all these other awards that came with it. I won. Then I made it to the WNBA, which became the first Haitian to ever play in the WNBA. But I felt like I won. But for the first time of my life, I was facing the biggest loss, which was the loss of my son, CJ. And it was very difficult, but even through that process, God showed me that even in loss, you're victorious. And that is why, the book is called Transform, because of all the valuable lessons I've learned along the way with understanding that even in loss, you're still victorious.
What happened with CJ? Like, give us a little bit of the story there.
CJ was in a ATV wreck, spring break 2021, where he fell off the ATV and the railing of the ATV hit him in the head, and he later suffered a severe brain injury. But CJ was just a kid that, oh my gosh, like at 14 years old, 8th grade, already had a scholarship to LSU for football, baseball, just a talented athlete. But that wasn't what made CJ special. It was his character. It was how he treated people. CJ didn't care about the touchdowns, the home runs. CJ cared about sitting with the kid who needed a friend. CJ cared about eating with the kids who were special need. He just had a heart for the broken. Anyone who knows CJ know he just loved people. That was his happy place. Is making others feel happy. So when he passed and we lost him, we wanted to make sure we continue his legacy and continue doing some of the things he was doing while he was here. So we're very active in the Texarkana community, the Ashdown community, doing community walk of love, turkey giveaways, clothing drives, secret Santas, baseball tournaments, and just going into schools and sharing with young people the importance of being kind, being humble, being respectful, being a friend to the kid who need a friend. So, I feel more honored. I feel very honored that I get to tell CJ's story. I feel like a proud mom. I feel like just like Jesus chose Mary, he chose Marie, and he believed that I can do this. And to be honest with you, I don't want to fail Jesus because he put this on me, and I'm like, oh, I ain't letting him down. If he think I can do it, oh, I'm walking in this. And I enjoy sharing CJ's story.
I love that. That's so sweet. Your organization is BeLikeCJ Foundation. Talk to us a little bit about that, where you challenge kids and teenagers to let CJ's story change their life. Can you just share that a little bit, and then also how CJ's story changed your life?
Well, the biggest thing is our kindness campaign. We go into schools and we make it like a kindness day where we're encouraging the kids to be kind, and we share a video of CJ on just who he was and how he lived. And when we play that video, it doesn't matter what I say, but when that video come on, it touches their heart and it truly changes them. So that's one of the biggest thing we do is have our kindness campaign in schools to help young people understand the importance of living a loving life. And as far as CJ changing my life, for me, I think it's live every day to the fullest. You don't know. Life is, nothing's promised. And to be honest, I feel like as a mom, when you're a parent and you have a kid that one of your kid goes to college and you're like, oh, yes, I got 2 more left to go. But for me, I feel like I have one that's truly home, and I need to work as hard to make sure the other 2 are well prepared. Yeah. So CJ it's not sadness, it's a movement, and he's impacting more now than ever before, just through who he was and what he stood for. And all these kids want to be like CJ, not just the kids. We have adults want to find ways to be more like CJ. So it's definitely something that's needed now more than ever, to just have something to share with people. Just a young man that just loved and just wanted everyone to just be happy. He was all about including everyone. CJ's favorite day was field day. Why? Because guess what? Even his buddies that wasn't as talented to play on the team, hey, on field day, I get to play with my buddies. All my buddies can play. He just had a love for people that it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I was very blessed. I lived in the Texarkana area during that, when all that happened, and was there when you guys went through that and got to see that from a distance. And then with the BeLikeCJ Foundation getting started, and it became almost a grassroots movement. Not because you guys were starting a foundation, but because so many people were impacted by his life. And so you guys get to continue that story. I know I can only imagine the loss that was felt in the moment. But through the book, you wrote this book, Transform, the winning side of losing. And I love that tagline, the winning side of losing. I'd imagine probably now you're feeling it. I mean, in the moment, definitely there was the loss. But now the winning side. Talk to us about the inspiration, because you share with me off camera a little bit. This book started before CJ. Yeah. And then you finished this after all that happened with CJ. Walk us through that a little bit. Like where did the inspiration come to finish the book, especially that tagline on the winning side of losing?
Yeah, I just feel like my whole life is all the hurt that I had to go through. I think it was never just for me. It was for me to be able to share it, so it can give life to others. So during my career, actually, I started writing this book, but I just never really was fully locked in because, sports was pretty much first at the time. But when I retired, I started kind of, messing with it a little bit more and a little bit more. And then in 2020, I really fully started getting really deep into it. And just sharing my story, my upbringing, just being at LSU and having to go through being culture shocked, like my little community. I was always around people that looked like me. And now I go to a LSU where it's complete culture shock, and I had to find a way to exercise mental toughness and literally make myself sit in front of the class because I didn't feel worthy to be in front of the class. So talking about those things, I think it can help other people. It can encourage them. And just sharing my experiences in the WNBA as a mom, it's very difficult to have that balance, because now I'm a professional basketball player and you're a mom, and it's just a really tough task. But I felt like those things need to be talked about. I need to share these experiences. And then, all of a sudden we lose CJ and I stopped writing. I just couldn't write anymore. And God gave me the courage to finish. Yeah. And so at the end, the second part of the book is all about CJ, who he was, how he lived, some of the stories. We share these stories that made him who he is, these character traits of CJ that is just supposed to, be shared with others in hopes of them implementing those character traits to be like CJ. So the book, The Winning Side of Losing, is just, there's wins and loss is where that name come from. There's wins and loss.
I love how you guys have found that purpose through the pain. And now you guys are helping a lot of other people too. You do seminars and trainings and stuff, and really working, and I've heard just some of your vision for the future, even of how you can help families who deal with loss and find the victory through the pain.
Yeah.
And I love that, and love that you guys have leveraged the story through the hurt to honor CJ, but also to continue the mission that we know he would be living right now.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, talking a little bit more about that, what advice would you give someone who's gone through difficult loss and trying to find their way through it? What would you tell them?
For me, one thing that I've always done throughout my life is keep the main thing, which is Jesus. And as long as Jesus is the main thing in my life, it doesn't matter what gets taken away. What job did I lose? Retire playing 12 years? I still have that optimistic mindset, attitude that, okay, this is just something that's going to become, growth for me in that area. And God already knew. So I'm prepared for it. Like they say, for those he called, he's already equipped. So with me having the ability to keep the main thing, which is Jesus, I've been able to handle the obstacles, in my life, the loss, because, hey, not too many people can carry this. And for God to choose me, to me, I feel honored. And I feel like I can help those who are suffering in silence by sharing and talking about it. I feel like I'm in a state now where God is calling me to speak, teach, and write. And it's basically what I've been doing these past 2-3 years.
We talked about this being kind of talking about life after sports, and a lot of this journey has come together for you, that having gone through sports, you're better because of the time you spent. But a lot of people, their identity is so linked to sports when they walk through that journey. So it almost feels like a loss for them when those sports come to a halt. They mourn what they were walking through. So what advice would you give to any of those former athletes that they're looking to transition their life now into whatever's next? What advice would you offer to them?
I would say humility will be the first thing, because when you play sports, you're always being cheered for. Everyone's cheering for you. You're that player that, everyone's idolizing you. Now you get out of sports and there's no one's cheering for you
anymore. People don't clap because you woke up that day.
Yeah, there's no more, there's all that ends. So humility is the biggest thing, for them to just humble themselves and start understanding that, okay, it's time to groom the person. That's one thing I wish I would have done. When I was learning for the first time at the age of 13 to dribble a basketball, I wish I was learning how to groom as a person at that time. I was learning how to speak, look people in the eye. I was learning these people skills along with the fundamental skills you need in sports. But one never got developed and the other took off. So I think that's what's happening in sports. A lot of us don't know how to do both, but you're capable of doing both.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this has been some excellent discussion. We appreciate you walking us through the story. I encourage you to get the book, Transform: The Winning Side of Losing. We'll talk about it some more at the end, just how you can be connected to that. But some great discussion. We're going to transition now into what we call our rapid-fire questions. So these are about 30 to 45-second responses. And Brinly, why don't you kick us off with that first question?
Well, Marie, what do you love about the current season of life you're in?
I love that I'm comfortable with who I am, and where God is leading me.
That's good. All right, what's something that you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger?
The importance of relationships, the importance of connecting with people. Relationships are important. I wish I realized that because I've been around so many amazing people, from Magic Johnson to Muhammad Ali to Mark Cuban. I mean, all of them was just right there, and I could care less. I'm like, move out the way so I can get my shots up. Like, I saw the tree, but I never saw the forest.
Who would you say has invested the most in you over the years?
I would say my mom. My mom has definitely been very invested. So when I was able to walk across that stage and get my degree at LSU, it was one of the most proud moments for her. And also my coach, who started off in high school. This was just a security guard, but he would come and volunteer his time and teach us basketball fundamentals. And within 1 year of committing to what he was teaching, I became one of the most sought after guards that all these universities want to give a scholarship to.
It's so interesting. You have shifted from being the person who wasn't relational and connecting to now, if someone meets you, like you're all about networking and connecting now. So that switch definitely hit for you. So what's the best way for people to connect and follow with you guys, whether they want to give to the foundation or be part of what you guys are doing some incredible stuff. So what's the best way for them to connect with you guys? Okay,
so our website, the BeLikeCJ Foundation. If you go to BeLikeCJ.org, you'll learn about everything we've done, what we're continuing to do. And I mean, we're always looking for volunteers all the time, So definitely that's a good start place is the foundation website, www.BeLikeCJ.org. And as far as myself, I have a website. If you want to learn about all the amazing things I'm doing personally, you can go to www.marieferdinand.com.
All right, we'll definitely put both of those in the show notes for our audience as well.
So looking at your next season of life or your next venture, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Every morning I wake up and I pray the Jabez prayer. I say, Lord, broaden my territory. I want to tell everyone what he's done for me. I want to share that with the masses. So more so just preparing for that and just trying to make that my lifelong message is to share the whole journey and share with people that even in loss, you can still be victorious.
I love it. That's typically our final question we ask, but this is our season finale. So I've got to ask you one final question here. You played professional sports, college sports into professional. Your husband played college baseball and then into professional sports. So I just have to know, who's the most competitive in the household? Like when you guys are competing over, who gets more competitive?
Well, being that we have all boys, my husband's always trying to prove that, hey, so he's definitely is. All of a sudden, when it's just against him and the boys, he's comfortable. But whenever the boys say, okay, you and mom play, all of a sudden he's locked in and focused. Like he can't lose to me in front of the boys. So definitely him.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing just the sneak peek today into your story, your journey. And I encourage our audience just to connect with you because it's a wonderful thing that you guys have going. And it's been a wonderful episode.
Yes, that was a wonderful episode. I am so excited I got to hear your story. And thank you for sharing all your insights with us today.
Yeah, and Marie, she's going to stick around with us for a few minutes just for some bonus discussion about the everything that's gone on in her journey as a pro athlete and whatever the guys throw at us in our Patreon discussion. So if you aren't part of that Patreon inner circle, we encourage you to join that. You can do that by going to patreon.com/the Uncommon Success Podcast, where you get some exclusive content just for some VIP discussions in our Cool Kids Club. It's a great opportunity for you this summer even to take some time to catch up on some of those bonus features, but you'll have to be part of that Cool Kids Club, the VIP discussion to get that content. So $7 a month, patreon.com/the Uncommon Success Podcast.
I saw a Cool Kids Club neon sign recently, and I just feel like that would go really good on
Just
one
right
of those shows. But yes, you can follow us on all of our platforms, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can also join us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So one thing we ask is please like, share, subscribe, and review. And also leave us comments. You can ask all the crazy questions and all the crazy things about Andy and see if we can't stir up some drama.
Yeah, and if you have some comments about Brinly this summer, we'd be glad to shoot some little videos of just her responding to some comments. So if you have some comments, let them be directed toward Brinly, not to Andy this summer. Thanks again to our incredible guest, Marie Harris. Thank you for joining us today. And if you'd like to pick up a copy of her book, Transformed, The Winning Side of Losing, the link to this book will be in the podcast where you can snag a copy of that. She has also just released a children's book called BeLikeCJ, and it's about the character traits that made her son great. And a link to that will also be in the show notes. And it's an incredible just resource that highlights who he was as a person. So both those will be for you in there. There's links to those. You can check them out. Well, that's a wrap on a wonderful episode and a wonderful first season of the Uncommon Success Podcast.
Yes, a great episode, great season, and last one, best one. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But thank you all for listening.
Yeah, for sure. We love you guys and look forward to you in our next season. Have a great summer. See ya. Thank you for joining us on the Uncommon Success Podcast, where your commitment to growth fuels our passion to create more content. Special thanks to our executive producer, Jess Camp, and our technical director, Stephen Posey. See you next time.